and welcome back to another episode of PT Pop in his gnome garden. This is my gnome garden. This is Sven, and we need to name the other gnomes. I have a new one coming, which is an alien holding a gnome. But today I want to talk about what it is to be an artist. When you're an artist and you put your work out there in front of an audience, it doesn't matter whether you're a painter, a sculptor, a songwriter, an actor, you're putting yourself out there. You're basically naked in front of the world. You're opening yourself up in front of everyone. You're just taking off all your clothes and saying, look, here I am, right? You're more or less letting the whole world see you for who you are, because in every painting and every creation that you make, that's a representation of yourself. And it can be a very painful process. I know I experienced that when I became a songwriter and I started performing music. Because a lot of times I would go out, I'd get hired by a coffee shop, I'd go out and play, and the people sitting there drinking their coffee or eating their dinner wouldn't respond to my music. And I couldn't figure this out. People wouldn't applaud, they wouldn't boo, they wouldn't throw, fruits and vegetables, but they didn't respond. There was no response, which is sometimes worse than hearing criticism. At least when you get criticism, you know what they don't like. But over the years, it occurred to me that lack of response wasn't a reflection on me. I was in an establishment where the people didn't pay to come see me. I wasn't a famous person. They were there to eat their dinner or drink their coffee. I did get applause, more often than not. I did get nice reception to my music, and I used to play out every summer. I played out every summer for about 25 years in small establishments. And when you open yourself up to criticism, when you open yourself up, when you put yourself out there, it's very hard because you don't know what people are going to say. You don't know what people's reactions are going to be to your work. And it can be very taxing emotionally. And I think one of the worst things is when you present yourself to your friends and your family, especially your family. If you have family that don't understand what you do or don't like what you do or don't think you should be an artist, they think you should go get a regular job, go get a real job, they'll say. And you show them your painting and they say nothing. It really hurts. It's a very cutting feeling because the people closest to you hurt you, and they don't know they're hurting you. Or maybe they do. Maybe they hate you because you're creative. I have at least 2 friends that say they're jealous of me because one of my friends said, you don't know how lucky you are that you could paint and draw. Like, I don't sit around with an ego thinking I'm all that in a bag of chips because I can paint or draw, play the guitar, do photography. I think it's pretty cool that I can do all those things. But most of us artists know the struggles we all go through to get where we got. The average person doesn't know how hard it really is. Even if you're really good at something, it doesn't mean anybody's going to like what you do. It doesn't mean anybody's going to appreciate it or embrace it. Most people are going to reject it. And there's a lot of struggles with that. There's a lot of pain with that. So when you're an artist, there's a lot of emotional upheaval in the creative process. And it's something that you have to deal with on a daily basis. Do they like me? Do they like my work? Are they hearing what I'm saying in this piece? Do they see the deep meaning in this painting? Do they hear how much I've improved? Like for me, my singing and my guitar playing have improved dramatically between 1993 and today. But that's 30 years. And in those 30 years, I've practiced like crazy. I took voice lessons. I took additional guitar lessons as a grown man. I watched lessons on YouTube. I've learned how to write different songs and write better. But that was 30 years of struggling and trying to get better, only to go into a bar and play like I learned James Taylor's Carolina in my mind. I learned that song almost identical to how he can play it on guitar and sing it. And the first time I played it, people are like, whatever. And I think I do a pretty good cover of that song. But, if people, the thing with musicians, especially if you're a musician artist, music is a subjective thing. And if you don't sound like that group of people's type of music they like if they're all Elvis fans and you're playing Elton John, they're not going to like your music. Or if you're playing Beatles music, but the crowd you're playing in front of is young and they like Taylor Swift, they're not going to like your music. That doesn't mean you suck. They may say you suck and stuff like that, but there's a lot of things you're going to deal with as an artist, and it's very hard. It's a very hard thing to deal with because it's a very ego-driven occupation. It's a very ego-driven occupation where you think a lot of what you do and you put a lot of yourself into it. So you're exposing yourself, you're stripping yourself nude and standing in front of an audience through your artwork, and it's difficult. So with that, I bid you adieu. Hang in there if you're an artist, and put your clothes back on, damn it.